What's up, guys? Isaac Payne here, and welcome to Small Business Conversations, where we interview small business owners that are doing big things in the community. Today, I have with us two friends that I've known for a long time. One of them we go way back, actually. So we'll hear a little bit about that. They have a new company, Pacific Rim Immigration, that specializes in providing Canadian immigration and human resource solutions. So today with that, we have with us Alisa and Matt Nelson.
Thank you for
Welcome,
having
guys.
me.
Thank you.
Very excited.
Awesome. No, thanks for coming on, guys. So yeah, how long has this company been around and how did it all start?
Yeah, so we have been in business since 2015. It all started from, I guess, having our first child. I was working in HR. I was put through the immigration program because I was doing a lot of immigration at where I worked before. And once I had my little guy and I was thinking about going back after mat leave, it significantly changed my time with him. And because I knew that being a regulated Canadian immigration consultant, I could start my own business. That's what I did to have more flexibility.
Uh, Seems to be the way I know a lot of people in our age group, women have babies and they decide, I can't go back to work, and they reinvent themselves and start something brand new that works with their schedule.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And it was scary. I think I made like 11,000 in my first year,
Yeah.
right? Just getting set up and figuring out what I had to do. And, it's a lot when you start your own business and there's a lot of unknowns and a lot of learning, a lot of learning. But Matt was actually he was the anchor, so he was working with BCA at the time, so I had some flexibility around building that.
Okay. So you
Yeah.
were the one that started it all, Elisa.
I did,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it was actually, because we traveled quite a bit and visited many cultures. Elisa's been to more than 30 countries, and I've been to around 50-ish countries. And we have a love for culture, and we believe, immigration is so important for the economy in Vancouver, and it just adds so much to, our day-to-day lives. So there's an interest there. And as I saw Elisa's, growing the business, as I was working within a corporate scene, I started to realize that I was more interested in moving towards the immigration. I have a love for HR, and I continue to do so as an HR consultant. But I have over 15 years of experience in human resources, and I looked at it as this is a great opportunity to join with Alisa and grow the business and have the HR arm of the business as well as the immigration piece. So I became part of the immigration consultant as well. I did the courses for that. So now I'm doing both that and human resources.
Ah, so you guys got the two arms working.
Yeah.
That's right.
So I know nothing about your industry or how it works. Um, so you guys help people become Canadian citizens? Is that what it is?
Well, where we specialize actually is getting people over here to work. And
Okay.
we have a lot of clients. I mean, Vancouver, right, is a great hub for tech companies, startups, right, and those that are growing in hypergrowth. So what we do is we work with these companies, we partner with them, and they say, hey, I found this software engineer, but he's in Brazil or he's in India or he's not here. How
Wow.
can we get him here? And so we give them those solutions. We say, okay, we'll work with you. We'll find a way to get them here quickly, right? And we take them through the motions on that. And when I say partnership, it's because once we do it one time, they see how easy it actually is. And it just solves so many problems for them through recruitment, right? Because they can't find that talent here. So they leverage that program or the programs over and over.
Yeah. And the approach that we take is because both of our backgrounds are in human resources, we really understand how to work with the recruitment and human resources teams, as well as senior management teams and organizations. So our approach is long-term. It's not just to bring someone in quickly and oh, great, we got some revenue from that. It's about building trust in comfort and a partnership that we're hoping that companies come back to us over and over again because they have the comfort level and they can ask us questions, and through the process, or they might have someone like, hey, this person is here in Canada working, but we want to bring them over. Can we? And they should feel comfortable having that question. And it's not like we're not charging them for that because we have an ongoing partnership, because we believe that, having them understand what's available, they will use us when the time comes. And it's not just with organizations either. We work with
Yes,
individuals.
we have individuals
Yeah.
contacting us. We do. And then people come here and they're like, I love it. I love Vancouver. I love Canada. How can I stay in a more permanent way? And then we find ways to help them with that. So our when you go onto our website, it says realize opportunity. And that's what we hope to do for people, is to help them come here and realize opportunity. We have a lot of, young people coming, and then we see them when they get PR, they're now pregnant with their first child. Like, they really want to make this their home. So that's, it's funny. Like, we get to see somebody come in on a work permit, and we get to work with them again on a permanent residence. And sometimes they go through citizenship. So
Okay.
we'll work with one person 3 times potentially.
Mm, very unique business. So then primarily you guys working with mostly large corporations then that need your help? I'm trying to understand where you're getting most of your business from.
Mhm. It's a bit of both. So we get a lot of individuals, right? People just contacting us because they find us online or through referral. That's how we've grown our business, is predominantly through referrals. But we mostly work with a small to medium enterprises, not so much the really big guys like Amazon or like that big. Like, we work probably in the about 50 to 100, I would say.
And those companies are those larger companies that have come to Vancouver. It's great, but they're creating a bit of a vacuum where the demand is more than supply, because they're gobbling up a lot of talent and leaving less supply of workers, high tech workers, able to fill those other roles. So immigration is a huge part of that. So we are working with smaller to medium companies. And it's going to continue to be that way. Like, the BC government has predicted that there's a huge shortfall. There's way more people retiring and exiting the workforce than young people entering it over the next 10 years, like hundreds of thousands, deficit. So the way that will be filled is, the only way we can fill that gap for the local economy is through immigration. And a lot of it is in high tech companies. And the hope is that, bringing in the right people will be able to start initiatives for companies and get projects underway that will then employ more Canadians and permanent residents through other jobs. So,
Very interesting. And then, so the human resources where you help them find work, and then the immigration is where you just get them into the country.
well, we don't do the recruitment piece. So the human resources arm is somewhat separate of our business. If something comes up where we see an opportunity, or if I see an opportunity and say, hey, you guys are really struggling to find this role, rather than knock on doors for the next 3-4 months and come up without someone, you may want to look down the immigration path, where you could have someone in as short as a month, it's coming to Canada with the skills that you're looking for that aren't available locally. So that would be how the HR lends itself to the immigration piece. But aside from that, what I'm doing is I'm providing ongoing HR services for smaller organizations, with like putting together policy handbooks, helping them with advisory services. Something comes up, they need to terminate or hire an employee, putting together the contracts for them. Those odd things that come up whenever you have employees working for you that you just don't know how to respond to, making sure that the local companies are making the decisions that aren't going to put them in hot water. Or if it's compensation, it's putting together a comp structure for the organization as well, if they're a little bit larger, or helping them understand how much they even be paying someone as their first new hire.
Yeah.
Wow, sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah.
Is it just the two of you? You guys have staff? How is it going? What's the structure?
So right now it's just the 2 of us.
Okay. Wow. Sounds like a lot going on there. There's a lot of logistics, it seems like.
Yeah. Well, we're looking to grow. Obviously part of the growth plan didn't predict the pandemic, as most did not. So we had to build that into our strategy. But our plan is to grow as we support more individuals and hire employees, and see the business flourish.
And how has COVID been on your business? How has it affected you guys?
Well, immigration, kind of like travel, it was hit hard and fast. And we recall when things were starting to get announced, we had to change our strategy. I believe it was 3 times in about four, like our overall business strategy, 3 times in the first 4 days, because announcement after announcement was changing, where we'd say, okay, so this is changed. So now we have to focus here. The next day, an announcement from the government would come up. We're like, okay, well, we can't focus there. Let's move to a different route and really start. So it got to where we were really focusing on people within Canada who are already here, looking for permanent residence, or they're having work permits that they need to renew. And then over time, it changed as some of the rules and the policies became clear. We could look at other ways, of either bringing individuals into Canada or finding avenues for companies to be able to continue with projects through hiring people outside Canada to do independent contracting or through other ways.
Mm. Yeah, it seems like everyone's had to adjust to pivot in some way, shape, or
Yeah.
form. I never even thought about your type of business. Yeah, crazy. Now, do you guys have a lot of competitors? Like a lot of small private immigration companies around?
Yeah, so there are, to be able to do immigration in Canada, right, to provide a service and charge people, you need to be either a regulated immigration consultant or an immigration or a lawyer, essentially. So those are the only two people that can do it and charge money for. So you have a lot of small, you have independent regulated consultants, you have big law firms, you've got consultants that have a firm. So there's many different types and sizes of immigration consultancy. So people kind of work with who they feel most comfortable with. A lot of it's done through referral, right? So, you work with someone, they got you, they were successful in getting you what you need, you're going to refer them on. And that's how we've grown our business predominantly, is just through referrals.
Yeah.
We don't do a lot of advertising. We've just actually started putting out YouTube videos,
Okay.
which our 7-year-old son thinks that's pretty cool, but we're not.
He thinks we're YouTubers.
Yeah, or are we trying to be influencers?
Yeah, maybe we're influencers. Yeah, we don't know that yet. We'll find.
Oh man, yeah. Well, I mean, I'm trying to, yeah, like so, like how much does marketing and stuff play a role in your industry? Marketing, advertising, is it a big role? Like, I don't.
Yeah, it definitely can be. You want to, but then a lot of the people that market and spend those money, those are to predominantly bigger firms, right?
Yeah.
So they're going to cost a little bit more essentially to work with. And the thing about immigration consultants and lawyers is our range of fees, like it's quite the range, right? So
Okay.
we don't have to charge a certain amount for, let's say, a work permit or a permanent residency. Everybody's got their own cost or service fee. And it's really like, that sensitive price point to someone, like what do they feel comfortable spending?
Yeah, and the way we look at trying to differentiate ourselves, because it's hard for anybody just looking at one company versus the other in our industry, is through our background and our professionalism that we bring through our background. We are timely when we're supposed to return calls. We keep the communication open so that people know where they are, especially working with individuals and employers. But you don't want an employer ever feeling like they're dragging the process along, or the individual feeling like they're moving things along. They should feel comfortable, completely comfortable, that we're moving things in the right way, and we're providing them with the advice and the direction that will lead them to success.
Mm. Yeah, well, that personal touch speaks volumes for every small business, right? It's all about that, taking that extra step and doing the little things that the other guys won't do, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's definitely the big thing.
Mhm.
Now, what's your guys' plans, 2, 3, 5 years from now? Where do you guys see Pacific Rim immigration?
Do you want me to?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. So I'll probably just look out 5 years from now. We have plans to grow. Obviously, we see ourselves with staff. I think, having Matt come on board and being able to work the marketing a little bit more, we're putting out blogs and YouTube videos, and putting ourselves out there a little bit more, I think that is going to bring in more people. And obviously what I was referring to before, the more people you get to know and you work with, they're going to refer you on. So it just grows legs that way. And I see us having staff. I see us growing potentially. I don't know if we'll ever have an office. People like to work remotely, and in this business, you absolutely can. You don't need, a brick and mortar place to work from. You can do Zoom calls or Google Meets, and people are fine with that. There's not a lot of in-person signatures required anymore. It's all digital. So we can essentially work from anywhere we want to work. So I think in 5 years, we have a certain revenue we'd like to achieve. We'd like a certain number of staff we'd like to have. And anything else you want to add?
Yeah, we don't want to be approaching it from the pushing advertising where you're seeing our name everywhere. We want to grow organically through the referrals. And yeah, we're going to reach out to certain individuals that can make decisions within organizations. And once they use our services, great, that's when they're going to start using us again, or they will hear from someone else. So we really want to grow that. Again, all in alignment with our idea of having a partnership. It's one of our values is partnership, because we just want people to understand that we're in it for the long term with them. And if we do that and we hire the right people, and that's going to be an important piece as well. As we hire individuals, we don't want a salesperson coming in and changing that feel. We want to make sure that if this is the way we believe we should be going, then we're going to hire that way, and we're going to train and coach that way. And in time, we'll be able to start bringing people in to provide some of the administrative work, but then grow into becoming an RCIC themselves.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, if you can grow organically and you can afford to do it slow and do it right and build up that base with quality, loyal customers and raving fans, hey, more power to you. That's the way to do it. That's a solid foundation. Now I'm gonna play dumb here. Not playing dumb. I am. Okay. You gotta walk me through.
I don't believe it, Isaac.
You gotta walk me through this. Okay, so I live in the Caribbean. I want to come to Canada. How long does it take for you to get me here, and what's it gonna cost? Go.
Okay. So let's also pretend that you are a software engineer. Okay. Can we pretend that?
Yes.
Is that okay? Okay.
Yes, it's definitely pretend.
Okay. So you're a software engineer and you're from the Caribbean. There's a great program.
Grenada.
Yeah. Grenada. Okay.
Yeah, you got it.
There is a great program out right now that we leverage all the time for our tech clients and those bringing in like engineers or developers. And it's the Global Talent Stream. And it's a program that was put in place specifically to expedite people in certain tech roles. So what that means is if a company offered you a job offer for a permanent, let's say a permanent role, at least a year, we could get you here in about 5 weeks.
Okay.
Okay. The cost to the employer is going to be around, and that's just for the immigration piece. If they're going to pay for that, right? It probably will be about $5,000, right? Okay. So I think what some employers they're a little bit shy to use immigration because it's those questions like how much is it going to cost? How long is it going to take? And traditionally, people think that immigration is really a cumbersome process, right? But the government has put in place so many other programs now because they realize where our shortfalls are. And they put in these programs that really expedite the time it takes to get people here. And it's not going to cost, depending on who you work with, it doesn't have to cost an employer an arm and a leg to do so.
And for employers, especially when they look at, they go without yourself, software engineer, and so there's a lot of opportunity cost. There's a lot of money lost if they have an empty chair. So they have to look at, if we can't find this person in Canada, that means we can't move projects forward. It's costing us a lot of potential revenue lost, or you just lose your competitiveness. How can you keep up with other companies if you can't move the projects along that will then provide the services that will keep you competitive? Mm-hmm. So it's really about, this is a quick way to get someone in that has the unique skill set that you need that you otherwise could not find, or it would take a very long time to find in Canada, if possible.
Now, in a perfect world, would companies want to hire domestically, but they just can't because the talent's just not here?
So a lot of the programs that the Canadian government have put in place, like the one that Lisa was talking about, is for specific roles that are in demand, but we don't have the supply in Canada. And so these are earmarked as, okay, as soon as you look for those jobs, if you're looking to hire in those jobs and it's listed on one of those lists, you should know right away, this is going to be a tough one to hire in Canada, to find the talent in Canada. You may be able to, but it's likely that you're going to struggle. So you may want to, if you ever see that role on the list, you may want to think, okay, should we be looking at this through immigration? Because the government's telling us that this is an in-demand job. There's a deficit in supply.
Okay. No, yeah, it's coming clear now. Getting it.
And the Canadian government does a great job in terms of creating hoops that companies have to jump through for other types of roles that aren't like that, to make sure that companies are looking inside Canada
First.
for citizens and permanent residents first.
Yeah.
So that would be the old LMIA is what it's called.
Yeah. So they want to make sure that you've done your recruitment. You've made sure you can find a Canadian or permanent resident to do it. Okay, so now let's look at you bringing in this foreign worker.
Okay. What have been some of the biggest challenges since starting your business? And what have you been like, oh man, like, geez, this is way harder than I thought. Like what's happened, or has there been anything?
Yeah, well, there are probably over like 50, 100 programs, right, that you can leverage for people depending on what they're trying to do. We also do family sponsorship. So we bring in a lot of spouses, right?
Okay.
So we do family sponsorship. We've done refugee applications. There's so many programs. So I think one of the biggest learning, I guess, hurdles for us, or when you start, is understanding which program applies to somebody based on their case. Nobody is, every case is different. No two are the same. You have to look at so many different factors, and it's really picking out which program is going to work for that person to get them here quickly, right? Not, and then probably the easiest for them to move through. But it's really learning about all these different programs. So that's why we don't specialize in all of them, right? We just kind of hone in on a few of them and that we're really good at, and we've learned, and we follow them because the government updates things so quickly. These programs change on a dime sometimes, and we don't get any lead time on it. So that's why we've just kind of gone and we're going to be experts in this area right now. And then maybe, once we grow, we might branch out.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So if someone comes to us and says, I am a refugee, I want to come to Canada, we'd say, okay, here's someone that you should work with. We don't know refugee law the way you need it. And so we're going to pass you along to someone else who can do that. It's out of our wheelhouse.
That's a nice thing about our profession too, is that a lot of consultants are independent. So, we get lonely. We need to reach out and talk to someone sometimes, or we need to connect and share information. So there's a lot of little groups that we connect in, and we share case files, obviously keeping privacy in mind, but just to help each other out. And so that we're not alone in this, because we're all trying to help each other move forward.
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, yeah, having a niche and a specialty is important, right? So, I mean, there's a million things you can do poorly, or you can do one thing really well, right? Or two things really well. So that makes sense. No, that's great. And how have you guys found life as entrepreneurs? Because this is your first business, I'm assuming.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
how are you finding it switching lanes, so to speak, from employee to entrepreneur?
Yeah, well, I've been doing it for about 5 years now, and I don't think I could ever go back in house. I love the flexibility of making my own hours, running it the way I'd like to run it. There's a lot of self motivation there, right? You gotta put yourself in. If you want to grow yourself and you grow your business, you got to do the work.
Yeah.
You got to. I think to be an entrepreneur, you have to be self motivated.
Well, absolutely. What about you, Matt?
Definitely. Well, I recharge through talking with people and being in interactions throughout the day. So I was very used to being in meetings from the start of the day to the end of the day. And that's how I got energy going. So coming and moving out of that to working, not in that scene was a big change for me. So that was the biggest hurdle for me, is getting used to just not having someone to talk to. except I'm sitting beside Alisa, so I want to talk to her because that's what I'm used to. And there's Alisa who's been working, alone for 4 or 5 years, and that was a big challenge for us because we had to set some boundaries.
So Matt and I were
That.
in the same room, and he'd be, talking to me about something or asking about something, and I'd be like, okay, so we made a new rule that he has to book a meeting with me. So now, even though we're in the same room, we do book out time for us
It's true.
to talk to
Well,
through these things.
because I was so used to working away and having people continually come into my office to ask questions.
Yeah.
That was just what was normal for me.
And I'm in the zone,
Yeah,
right?
and
So,
That is funny. I mean, that's the irony of it, right? It's like, no, it's a little too much, right? It's like, okay, no, we gotta schedule this now.
That's right.
How many kids do you guys have now?
2,
Okay, how old?
7 and 3.
Okay, and what's that like working from home?
during COVID,
But during the COVID, we had to make a decision on because they were back from school and daycare. So what we did was because Alisa had more connections and more that she'd grown the business for a while. I said we decided you continue on, and you head the business. I'll do
daddy daycare.
daddy daycare, and when they go to sleep, then it's looking at the HR side and whether Alisa has enough bandwidth to do what was necessary at the time, and then I do help out where I could in the evenings. So that was a challenge. Otherwise, it's
I had to lay him off. He
oh
took it
yeah,
well.
that's right. Yeah, I wrote myself a letter.
Yeah, that's fair. At least you're objective, right? That's good. No biases.
Couldn't really disagree with that one.
So about how many hours a day are you guys working now?
So I probably still have about 6 hours a day of work to do. So
Okay.
immigration is picking back up, thanks to the vaccine and the government. They still say, please don't fly, right? It's not now it's not the time to travel. But there are people that are within Canada that still need immigration assistance.
Yeah. A big concern for us was when they announced the hotel quarantine, where folks had to stay in the hotel. But they're going through, the government's going through a rough time, as are people staying in the hotels, trying to figure that one out, because there's a lot of logistics that I don't know if it was totally figured out before they went ahead. But one of the concerns was the costs, and fortunately, it seems that the costs are much lower than originally communicated out for individuals coming to Canada. It's not like a bargain, but it's just not as bad as they'd originally stated. So we were concerned that would have an impact on some of the immigration coming in, but judging the last few weeks, it doesn't seem to be. I think there's a confidence that's growing in terms of, okay, we're turning the corner on this pandemic, and companies are starting to move with that in mind. The variants, of course, is something that could throw a wrench into things, but that's just something that we have to keep an eye on, as do employers.
So what we're finding is people, like our employers, can still bring people in if they can justify that person is essential to their business. They don't have to be an essential worker, but if you can justify they're essential to the business, then they can come in, but they still have to get the test upon arrival, right? Get the COVID test, stay in that hotel for 3 days and wait it out, and then finish their quarantine, the 11 days at Airbnb or wherever they were going to be.
Yeah, and we work with employers in doing that to help them through that too.
Okay, well, it seems like things are turning around and picking up for you guys, which is good. There's light at the end of the tunnel there.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you guys don't know, or any skill sets you don't have that you wish you had or are trying to develop currently with your business?
Well, we're currently trying to work on our YouTube ability.
Okay. Yeah.
There's so much to know, as you probably are aware, going through this, for your business, is SEOs and figuring out how does that all work? How do people find you on Google? Why isn't my name or our name at the top of the Google Map search? When you do YouTube video, what's the right length? For LinkedIn, it's one shape. For Instagram, it's another. And there's so much to learn from the marketing side of things.
Yeah.
And you don't even, because it's going out there, and it's not like where you have an ad in the newspaper where by the phone calls you receive. You just put it out there hoping that it lands somewhere. Someone somewhere reads it and goes, or watches it and goes, okay, I need that service, or I know someone who needs that service. So that's something that we're working on.
Yeah.
Is that aspect.
Yeah, we're not super old, but we're old enough that the social media is just we have to figure it out.
Yeah.
And then that takes just some time to do.
Yeah, it's a rabbit hole for sure. Like we're learning too, and it's always evolving. It's always changing, little nuances, and there's always some new platform popping up every 3 or 4 years. I know it's you always feel like you're like one step behind, and it's the necessary evil nowadays, right?
Right. We'll have to ask our son when he turns 8.
He'll know. Yeah, he'll know just as much, if not more.
Yeah.
It's true. I know it's crazy. It is a young man's game, literally. It's crazy. Yeah. Well, so do you guys have any tips for other small business owners or people who are thinking about starting a business?
I say connect. Don't be concerned about asking questions or looking perfect. It's there's lots of other people out there. With your company, that might be also another great way to find other small companies that are going through similar things, and it'll allow for us or someone in the situation to be able to reach out and say, okay, what have you found? I don't know if this is working. What's your thoughts? But it's putting the ego aside and just understanding that you're not going to be perfect the first time, but just try it. Go.
Yeah. No, that's great advice.
And I think it's also overwhelming when you start your own business and you feel like you have to be the master at, the accounting and the marketing and, you might not have the resources to necessarily pay for that all at once, but start slowly. Like, I think you get organized, start slowly. Don't just dive into everything at once, because there's a lot that you could potentially get into. And seek help where you need it. Like, you don't have to be that accountant. You don't have to be the marketer. You can find ways to get people to help you with that. So you have to look for those opportunities, because you want to focus on where you're gonna add value to the company. And if those things don't add value, then you're just wasting a lot of precious time just trying to figure something out when you could have been making a sale or getting to know somebody or pushing your business forward.
No, I can attest to all those things as someone who's been self-employed for 15 years now or so. There is no perfect. You got to just take the plunge, kind of build that parachute on the way down, so to speak. There's going to be setbacks, there's going to be failures, but that's all part of it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not failing, you're not trying. So a lot of people just don't want to start because they just think, oh, what am I going to do? What happens if it doesn't work out? But the best way to learn is to fail. That's what I've learned in life. You have to take your lumps, because the only way you get better and get stronger. So I know it's all great advice. Where can everyone find Pacific Rim Immigration?
You can find us through Google Maps. You can find us on our website at pricanada.com.
You can find us on YouTube.
Yeah. Our channel is Pacific Rim Immigration.
Okay.
We're doing more videos there.
Awesome.
Yeah, and we have a blog on our website, so we're trying to keep people up to date with what's happening in the immigration world. So, if anybody who watches is like, yeah, I need to bring my brother here, or I'm looking to bring my wife, or they know someone who wants to get a job from abroad, then it might be helpful just to read on that first.
We're on LinkedIn, both Alisa and myself, as well as our company.
Awesome, guys. No, sounds like a great company. I'm glad you guys are doing some big things, and you guys took the plunge, and glad you're enjoying it. It's going well for you. And I wish you guys the best of luck moving forward. We'll be following your journey.
Thank you
very much.